Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio, and today, exciting things are happening today, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a brand new type of Pokemon card. And we're going to use Mew VMAX as an example here, because who doesn't like Mew? Mew is amazing, and this card is beautiful, although I feel like it is already time to clarify my previous statement. Because you see, on the one hand, we do have a new type of Pokemon card. It is Pokemon Fusion, or Fusion Pokemon, however you want to say it. And it is from the new set, Sword and Shield 8, which is Fusion Arts over in Japan. And this is all absolutely true, but it's not full of new mechanics like you might be hoping. Essentially, what we've got here is a third type of card to go along with Pokemon like Rapid Strike and Single Strike Pokemon. That means there's no new mechanics in terms of extra prize cards given up, inherent abilities, or any of that for Fusion Pokemon, but there will be a bunch of cards that work with Fusion Pokemon. So in the same way, if you're playing a Rapid Strike deck, you may well be playing Rapid Strike Energy, which will allow you to essentially have a double energy. And you can use stuff like Octillery to go and search out your Rapid Strike cards. You are going to have some extra support that we've got here, specifically for Fusion Pokemon like Mew VMAX. So it is a new type of Pokemon card, that is absolutely true. But temper your expectations a little bit. We are not talking about new mechanics or a new type of VMAX or anything like that. We are talking about a new subset of cards very much along the same lines as Single Strike and Rapid Strike Pokemon. So if we start off having a look at Mew V, you might be delighted like I am to see that we've got an illustration from the lovely Mitsuhiro Arita here, one of the original and best Pokemon TCG artists. Now what we've got here is 180 HP, which is actually really low. For a Pokemon V, it's about as low as you get. It's what we generally expect from support Pokemon V, and that's not what Mew is supposed to be. You do have free retreat, which is a handy bonus, and a resistance to fighting, which is always nice. But then we've got a weakness to darkness, and with things like Gengar running around everywhere. Okay, I know it's not out here yet, but one day it will be. That is, shall we say, not entirely brilliant. And you are a Psychic Pokemon, which means you are hitting weakness against all of those things like Urshifu, which is not too bad, ladies and gentlemen. That is not too bad. But what does it actually do? Well, our translation comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet, as I'm assuming you've guessed by now. For just a single Psychic Energy, you get to attach an energy from your deck to one of your Fusion Pokemon, and that's it for an energy. And this is a good example of what I was talking about a moment ago, in terms of Fusion Pokemon not necessarily having new mechanics, but having a bunch of support things for them. This is a great example of the kind of thing Fusion Pokemon can have. If you're a Fusion Pokemon, Mew can accelerate an energy to you. If you're not, then Mew can't. Now, I like this more than some attacks, but I still don't particularly love it. Now, the good news is you can attach to Mew, it's one of your Fusion, not one of your other Fusion Pokemon. But if you attach to Mew, you're just sitting in the active, ready to take a hit. I've never liked attacks like this. If you attach to the bench and then Mew gets KO'd, you still get to keep the energy you've attached. But at that stage, you've basically given up 2 prizes just to take one energy out of the deck and attach it. I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think this is quite as good as it could be. I'm not terribly excited by this attack. I am sorry. But the good news is there's a second attack. For 1 Psychic, 1 colorless energy, 70 damage, and you may shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your deck. Which is fine, but I'm still not terribly impressed. Now, incidentally, cards like this, what you're really looking for is either hit and run, or you're looking for saving a Pokemon which is a liability on the bench. Now, for hit and run, this is fine. Think something like Mean Shao, where you do a bunch of damage and then you go back to your hand, or in this case, into the deck and go from there. The thing is, Mean Shao works because of Rapid Strike Energy, and honestly doesn't even really work. I've tried that deck so much and it is not good enough. But the fact of the matter is, we don't have one energy that will pay both the energy for Mew V here. There is no double fusion energy, so yeah. You're not paying it for one energy. Now the good news is that being a psychic Pokemon does mean you can attach energy using Shadow Rider Calyrex, and then draw 2 cards at the same time. But my problem here is that Shadow Rider Calyrex does more damage based on how much energy is on the field, and Mew takes 2 energy off the field. So sure, you can power it up in one turn with Shadow Rider Calyrex, but I don't think you're particularly going to want to. So I don't really like this as a hit and run Pokemon, because you can't do it super easily every turn. Plus, a lot of our good walls at the moment, I mean, essentially the best one we've got is Lily's Pokédoll, and that's just about to rotate out. So I'm not really loving it in that regard either, and I'm sorry. In terms of the saving yourself, think things like Shaman EX, that for a double colourless energy, and again, that was huge because you're talking 1 energy attachment, you did 30 damage and went back to your hand, and either you could reuse it to use setup again and draw more cards, or you had it off the bench and it wasn't a liability. So I'm not seeing many reasons to play Mew V here. It can work as a hit and run Pokemon, but if it's not a single energy attack, I am not terribly impressed. But what about Mew VMAX? Well, we got up to 310 HP, which is still super low. Victini VMAX does just fine with the same amount of HP. It's not a deal breaker, but let's be clear, it's still extremely low. We got that same retreat cost of 0, same resistance to fighting, same weakness to darkness, so everything I said about them before absolutely holds true. And what we've got here is 2 colourless energy, choose one of your benched fusion Pokemon's attacks, and use it as this attack. And right there, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get to the last attack in a minute, it's not that special. This is a reason to play Mew, and this is always the reason to play Mew. The reason you play Mew is pretty much always because you are copying attacks from other Pokemon and playing a toolbox deck. I could give you a million different examples, but one that I am particularly fond of from back in the day was Mew Prime. And Mew could use the attacks of any Pokemon that was in the Lost Zone. And incidentally, that was yours and your opponent's. So you would play cards to put a bunch of Pokemon in the Lost Zone and then go and copy them with Mew. More recently, I'm assuming pretty much all of you are familiar with Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, which has got that perfection ability, which lets you copy any attacks of Pokemon GX and EX on your bench or in your discard pile. And make no mistake about it, that is not Mewtwo's influence on the card, that is Mew's influence on the card. Mew always has these kind of attacks which fit into some kind of, well, not always, but often fits into these toolbox attacks, and Mew is back and doing it again, and this is Mew doing Mew stuff, ladies and gentlemen. You shouldn't be surprised, you should be impressed. And we could go back to the Mew from Legend Maker, which had a Pokebody that let you use the attacks of all Pokemon in play as its own. Jason Klaczynski won the World Championships with that card. This is what Mew does, this is always what Mew does, and this is extremely cool. So you make a toolbox deck. And we've seen a couple of fusion Pokemon, we'll get to them very shortly. We will see more in the future in this set and presumably in future sets. It is too early, frankly, to start asking how good this is going to be. But make no mistake about it, this is a very, very good thing. If we just get a few good kinds of attacks, we can have a really nice toolbox with Mew VMAX. Yes, we've still got super low HP and that's a problem. And the energy here is not ideal. You can't use Twin Energy because you're a Pokemon VMAX, which is obviously a little bit sad. But let's not forget that you've got things like Rose, which can accelerate the energy, or, you know, the aforementioned Shadow Rider Calyrex, which really does get a whole bunch better here. And you are off, ladies and gentlemen. You are absolutely off. And it's Mew VMAX doing very much Mew things. This is exactly what we expect from Mew, and this is what we get. And what you do here is essentially build up a lovely bench of Pokemon that will allow you to have a whole bunch of different attacks and then go nuts. Is this going to be as good as Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX? Maybe not, but maybe. It's got more HP, but it is an evolution Pokemon. 40 more HP gives up the same amount of prizes. And to be fair, Mewtwo and Mew GX has been really good. But that was all GXs and EXs. This is just fusion Pokemon. Essentially, this is a phenomenal card with a redonkulous amount of potential, but it all depends on what we've got in terms of fusion Pokemon. Mewtwo and Mew saw a whole bunch of play in a whole bunch of decks, but it was that versatility that made it work so well. You could take a just Pikachu and Zekrom deck, which was a lightning deck, and just whack in Mewtwo and Mew as a Pokemon with a different weakness that hits a different weakness and has a little bit of extra adaptability if you play some non-lightning energy. We saw it in Psychic decks really taking advantage of it. We saw it all over. We saw it in Fire decks with Welder. It has proven to be one of the very best cards we've ever seen, and make no mistake about it, Mew VMAX is the successor to Mewtwo and Mew. This is the new version of it. And the other thing, and I cannot stress this enough here, this is 2 colorless energy. This is not you need to get the right kind of energy like we saw with Mewtwo and Mew. This is any 2 energy on this will work fine to copy any attack. Remember the rule, and it is always the case with Pokemon cards. If it says you must have the right kind of energy in order to use the attack, you need to, like we see on Mewtwo and Mew. If it doesn't say that, you don't, and it definitely doesn't say that. Make no mistake about it, this is the new version of Mewtwo and Mew, and this is awesome. If we get the right kind of fusion attacks, which is something time will tell. As for the other attack here, 2 Psychic Energy, 130, not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is fine. If you find yourself against something like a Zamazenta, for instance, which you're not able to attack because you are a VMAX, this will allow you to hit through that. It's fine. You don't really ever want to use this attack, but it will do. It means you're 2-hit KOing something like Zamazenta and they're not 2-hit KOing you, so it gives you an advantage against those kind of Pokemon. It is not particularly amazing, but it is a very handy bonus that you will be able to use here and there, and that alone is pretty gosh darn cool. But it's not a reason to play the card. You are playing Mew VMAX for that toolbox style deck, and that is extremely important. I'm going to go ahead and give this 5 Wassies, because essentially, that old Mew, the old Mew EX, ended up being broken because it was a toolbox deck and people broke it, it won Worlds. Mew Prime ended up being a bit broken because people made a toolbox deck. Mewtwo and Mew ended up being a little bit broken because it made a toolbox, well, actually like a million different ones. And this is the same kind of thing. I see no reason why people won't make a broken toolbox deck with this unless all the other fusion Pokemon just aren't good enough. Make no mistake about it, this is going to see a huge amount of play. It is a 5 Wossie card. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.